Esther year now happens to be the 12th of Elul. Yud Bet Elul marks the Hilula of a very famous rabbi of his time, Rabbi Yom Tov Krispin, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, very, very famous rabbi in his vicinity, a rabbi we've mentioned about on various occasions before inside this magnanimous series of the great Chachmim of yesteryear. To give him his full title, Rabbi Yom Tov Moureinu Crispin. I think family name can be pronounced, can be written in different ways. He was a great Posek of his time, halachic decision maker. He was a dayan, a judge, all the great rabbis of Izmir, and he was the author of the Torah colossal work called the Sheilot Shuvot Bigdi Yom Tov, question and answers book of the Bigdi Yom Tov, respectively. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the great rabbi's life. Now, he was born and came from a very great rabbinic auspices. His father was another very famous rabbi, Rabbi Yoshua Avram Crispin. His father happened to have been, was born in Izmir, and we mentioned him on various occasions before. I think he himself, if I'm not mistaken, was his father happened to have been also a parshan. He was a judge. He was a halachic decision maker. He was also, I believe, a chief rabbi in Izmir. He was actually, it's actually interesting. His father learned the famous Yeshivat Bet Yaakov, which we've mentioned about on various occasions before. And his father had close connections with many of the great rabbis, especially in Turkey, in those vicinities. I think especially Rabbi Chaim David Chazan, who was a Rishon LeZion of Israel, who we mentioned about on various occasions before. He had a strong connection to. And he was one of the great rabbis of his time. Remember, the Crispin family itself was a great rabbinic dynasty. And especially, so we mentioned about them on various occasions before. What's interesting, Rabbi Yom Tov Krispin will have two really famous rabbinic brothers, including Rabbi Aaron Crispin and Rabbi Shmuel Crispin, really great rabbis we've mentioned about on various occasions before. So it was like a proper rabbinic dynasty, but maybe we'll speak about that on a separate video. Maybe we'll cover an entire section, let's just say, on the great rabbis from this family. Okay, so it's actually interesting. So Rabbi Yom Tov would actually learn in a yeshiva called Yeshivat Magen Shaul inside the city, inside Turkey, where he was. And I think there was toughness over there at that point in time on just all throughout various, let's just say, in of itself. I think it was tough times, but and he would document it inside his book. And I'll just quote what's just using Wikipedia here as a source. I hope I pronounce this correctly. It's in Hebrew over here, where he will actually talk about maybe the Yisurim he'll have. V'yadua arachoni she'en bi koach mikama haraptaki da'ato alai va'ava va'ubehaba va'ashem yama letzoroti dei diasor israni yisuran kashim umarim ואין אני בן חורין לחפש בספרים ומי שבא להורות בדבר הלכת צדיק שיהיו לפניו כל ספרי הפוסקים כשולחן ערוך סדורים. אמנם מה אעשה דמפני הפצרת השואל הוכרחתי גם כן לדחות את עצמי והעדפה שעל ידי הדחק. This was actually, I think it's actually written, if I'm not mistaken, in the Bigdi Yom Tov, his book, on page 64 on Amud Aleph, from the first part of the book. That quotation was there. I was just reading that from Wikipedia. And so it would be really imbued in Torah at a young age, very, very young age. And it's reported over that he'd be appointed a dayan, and would kihen kedayan u'kumesadeh gitin be'izmir. He'd be in charge of various different divorce cases over there at that point in time. Come what the year Taf Reish Lamed Tet, I think that was possibly around 1878ish, 1879. He would sit, I think, in a Bedin with other great rabbis, including Rabbi Chaim Modai, another great rabbi. He was, I believe, a chief rabbi of Tzfat. He was rabbi of the city of Izmir. He was a dayan. He was a posek, a shluchei d'Rabbanan, a rabbinic emissary also, and meshurar. So he would actually sit in his bed with some of the great rabbis of his time. And they actually say about Rabbi Chaim Pelagi, I think, says Maran Hachabif Harav Chaim Pelagi was one of the great rabbis of his time. V'hiskamto le'echad me paskal she Rabbi Yom Tov me kanahu Harav atzum zera Rav Yoma tava leRabbeinu. Talking about the greatness Rabbi Chaim Pelagi did, acknowledging Harav Yom Tov, which we mentioned about on various occasions before. So we can see he was very, very seen at very high esteem by many people at that stage in time within regards to that. And that is just quoted over. Okay, now it's interesting. I believe he passed away it was on the 12th of Elul, Yud Elul, which happens to be the date that we're in at the moment. And he was buried in Izmir. Now, among his family, he had great very, very great Rabbanim in himself. And I think, unfortunately, there was a plague in Izmir that broke out, I think, in the year Heitafresh Chafei, if I'm not mistaken. And I think, sadly, his son, Rav Shmuel, I think died in the plague. Possibly, I think his daughter also, Miriam, did very, very sadly. Remember, I think mentioned about there were fires that broke out in Turkey, and there was, unfortunately, I think plagues that break out, especially, I think, during the 1800s, other parts of the world also. So we have to point that out. I think this plague actually broke out in Izmir at that point in time. I think it was around, possibly in around the year, I'm not too sure. I think it states over here, just to be precise, that it was Heitafresh Chafei. I'm not too sure the date it was. Now he had another son, Rav Abram, who I think also sadly passed away quite young. It was, I think, on Zayin Tevet, Heitafresh Lamed Bet, that specific year in itself. Now it's interesting, his brother was great Rabbi Aaron Krispin, also Rabbi Shmuel Krispin, and Rabbi Yitzchak Krispin, who was the author of the Shemot Yitzchak. I think his brother-in-law was another famous rabbi, Rabbi Chaim Benjamin Pontrimoli, another great rabbi, who was the author of the Petach Hadver. The great rabbi we've spoken about on various occasions before. Now, what was the books that Rabbi Yom Tov actually authored? He authored some great Torah colossal works, including, obviously, we mentioned about the Shut, Bigday Yom Tov, the Shelot Shuvot book, question and answer book, Bigday Yom Tov, which was divided into two halakim. I think that was printed in Izmir in Tafresh Lamed Dalet and Tafresh Mem Zayin. It was on the four sections of the Code of Jewish Laws, Shulchan Aruch, respectively. And I'll say what it says. Miktzat Ma'asimanim Hem Chidushei Halacha. Chelek Aleph was on the Orach Chaim. I think Lev Simanim. I think then it was Yorei Deah, if I'm not mistaken, and so on and so forth. That actually put on different Simanim, the different orders. Now, another great book of his was the Tzeidah LeDerech B'Yom Tov. This was divided up once again into two chalakim over here. On the 10, let's say, commandments in itself. The 10, the Asara Dibrot, the 10 commandments, the part of the 613 mitzvot, and I think it was written actually in Ladino, and the second one was a Musa to connection to various different festivals. Now, just the music in the background at the moment in time. I'm recording. We're quite close to Shabbat, so they put some music on in the various ultra-Orthodox cities in Israel. Now, another great book of his was Ben Abram, which was on Drushim, various different drashot, and which was on Lesefer Haskama Mishtefet Me'et Rabbanei Izmir, and I think very much Rabbi Avram Pelagia is connected. Rabbi Yosha Shlomo Ardit also was, and then there was another, I think, book maybe that was left in manuscript. I'm not so sure. Chidushim Likutei Inyanim Niflaim Hashkot V'Arot Yoshvim Ubirim Divrei Rabotenu Rishonim Achronim. Expounding on the great Rishonim and Achronim, Halacha Agada B'Darush Arba Kirachim, I think was put in 4 sections in itself, and this was compiled, I think, from the Chevrat Abat Shalom, I think, which is connected to Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Hillel, and we actually spoke about the Chevrat Abat Shalom in a previous video also, and I think it was printed at one stage in time. So very, very interesting. I recommend everyone to learn more. I think the Bigday Yom Tov itself was printed in Izmir. We can find out more information within regards to that. Yes, Yom Tov Krispin. You can actually see, and it says over there, Bigday Yom Sefer Bigday Yom Tov. I recommend everyone to look into that book. It was a famous rabbinic dynasty. Let's add a few more things within regards to the great rabbi. And we spoke about, I think, 18. We spoke about how there were various different plagues that befell in Turkey and led, unfortunately, a lot of major issues in over there, and various other books. I think one of them was called of his brother actually published a book around the 1870s, Avram B'Machazer, and I think 1879 was the point when he actually became a Dayan in the court of Rabbi Nissim Chaim Mordei, as we mentioned about before. So I recommend everyone to say over. Seemingly his Hilul was on Yud Bet Elul, but I have to confirm that. That's what I've seen from various different places. And let's explore a few of the highlights of his books over here, because I think the Hayami website actually illustrates different highlights usually especially when they're talking about the rabbis. Hilula, a great rabbi at Tzaddik, had passed away. They would actually expound on that in of itself. Let's look at the Hayami website. One of the teachings they actually have within regards to Rav Yom Tov, it actually is stated over. We'll just state, okay. מלמד, מעלת מחזיקי התינוקות שלא ילכו עם המינים מכות העיניות. This actually comes from the book, I think Ben Avram, from page 44, Amud Bet, if I'm not mistaken. And this was printed, I think, in 1875, as I said before. מלמד, זמן מתן תורה הם ימים מסוגלים להיות יחד כאיש אחד חברים. This comes actually from page number 36 of the Ben Abraham, also respectively another teaching. מלמד, מרפויון ידם בתורה, לשמוח בכל הטוב בתורה. This comes from page 86 over there. And once again from Ben Abraham, another teaching. מלמד, אף שדובר אמת, לא רגל, לא לשינוי, לומר לשון הרע. This comes from page number 79 of the book, another teaching. מלמד, לעשות הזיווג בשירים ובברסום, שאין עין הרע במקום שכינה. This comes from page 66 of the same book. And last teaching of it. מלמד, חיים כולכם חיים, באוצר היום של היום, אם בקולות תשמעו. This comes from page 129, Amud Aleph over there. I think it was actually printed through Aaron Yoshua de Shigura, another person we've spoken about on various occasions before. I think that's where the book itself would be printed from. So I'd recommend everyone to learn more and look into that. Hopefully we'll record about various rabbis from the famous Crispin rabbinic dynasty already here inside the series, which I recommend everyone to actually look into, and maybe we'll record about some more great rabbis, hopefully in due course, connected to the family. Now friends, we're a community here. We are learning about the great Oriental rabbis of yesteryear. We've already covered about approximately nearly 1,200 biography videos of great Chachamim of yesteryear. So if you dissent from any of the great Chachamim we are speaking about, please, I urge you all, let me know and leave me some feedback, and so on and so forth. If you feel anyone is interested in watching any of these videos of the great Chachamim of yesteryear, please share these videos also to other people. Join the community, because we're growing fast. We're learning Torah, we're trying to grow and boom, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of wisdom, especially to learn about the great rabbis of yesteryear. One more favor, everyone, please, that everyone that's watching, please subscribe to the channel. We are on, at the moment, a staggering, at the moment, close to 7,500 subscribers, which is a phenomenal achievement. And, we're just going from strength to strength at the moment, and really, let's just say, just improving incredibly. And I just think it's important, please, to subscribe and share the videos to other people and help the channel grow, our community grow, because that's what we are at the end of the day. We're a community here that loves to learn, especially the Oriental and Sephardic Rabbonim, and we see the importance of it, and we can't stress that enough. So friends, I think on that note, I'm going to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom over here. Recording this from the city of Bet Shemesh. We're about to come into Shabbat Parashat. At the moment, Shabbat Parashat Kitisa. Kitetze, sorry. It's known as the Parsha and the Torah, enriched with the most mitzvot, 74 mitzvot inside this Torah portion over here, which is absolutely phenomenal. And just recording this from Bet Shemesh, it's going to be in Shabbat's going to be just in about 20 minutes time, I think, or something like that. So it's a nice way to come in and relate over a video of one of the great rabbis at the time period of Yis Hilula. And Bez Hashem, the schut of speaking about the great Chacham from Turkey, from Izmir, is going to perpetuate, and learn more about him, learn his book, which we mentioned about. I can't advocate enough for it, and light candles in memory before Shabbat, obviously, and take care, and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for watching, and I appreciate all the great feedback, friends. Thank you.